we open the Items in Warehouse page through the left-hand menu section, which shows the total quantity of scaffolding components, the quantity rented, the quantity remaining in warehouse, and the reserved quantity. And we can see that there are currently no reserved or rented scaffolding components. After pressing the blue button on any line of the scaffolding component list, we will go to the page of the selected component, which contains all available data about this component. If this component was reserved or rented for any client object, we will see data about it as well, which program user and when performing the corresponding operation, for which client object, and how many this component was reserved or rented. Reservation of scaffolding components for the client object is carried out by pressing the button Form a new annex to the contract on the editing page of the client object. After pressing this button, a page opens where we can choose which rental price calculation method we will use when forming the contract annex. We can choose one of 4 methods of calculating the rental price: by square meters, by set, by cubic capacity, and as percentage of the value of the components. In all cases, the program calculates a percentage of the value of the components. To use this ratio to calculate various data required in further parts of the program. For example, in the event of partial return, when the initial method of calculating the rental price was square meters, the rental price for the remaining scaffolding components at the client's object will continue to be calculated using a percentage from the value of the components. We select the method for the set, pressing the appropriate button. Next, we can continue the reservation of scaffolding components by selecting the Annex to Contract button, or if we have a properly formatted Excel file with the list of quantities of the components required for this object, which can be generated, for example, from the scaffolding design system, we can select Import quantities into the annex from the Excel file. Also, on this as well as on the previous and other pages, there are navigation buttons that allow you to return to the previous pages or go to the page for the changes of components rendered to the client object. We press the Annex to Contract button and open the page where we can make a reservation of scaffolding components for the selected client object and create an Excel format document. Fields in which data must be recorded by the program or entered or corrected by the user are marked with a red asterisk. And the fields in which data is recorded immediately or after the contract after the calculation operation and cannot be changed by the user have a gray background. In the Annex Number field, the program records the number of the contract annex that follows the existing one for this client object, and in the Data field, the date of today. If necessary, we can change these data. I will change the date to the last month so that later we can see how the program generates invoices rows for this object until the end of the previous month. If we press the Format Document button now, the program will display a message that the required field is not filled if we mistakenly entered a letter instead of a number in the price field. The program will also display a corresponding message. The program checks the entire series of entered data and displays messages to the program user if those data do not meet the requirements, so that the correct data are entered into the program database and the corresponding documents. For example, if after entering the rental price we do not enter the quantities of components and press the Format Document button, the program will display corresponding message again. From this page, by clicking with the mouse on the name of the component, we can open a page with all available information about this component in separate tab of the same window. For example, if reservation requires the quantities of the corresponding component, then based on the information on this page, we could assess whether there is a possibility to get the required quantity by cancelling the reservation at another object. We return to the adjacent tab with the Contract Annex Formation page. We add the quantities. When entering quantities, you can use a filter based on the title of the component. For example, we start entering the title of the in the corresponding cell, and only the components whose title contains the entered text remain in the list. In this way, after filtering, we enter the required amount of the corresponding component and then remove the text from the filter box to see the other components as well. When we finish entering quantities, we can view the list of components only with non-zero quantities by pressing the Review button. If we notice that we still need to include a component that is not in this list, we press All button, and after selecting this component, select its quantity. You can select quantity no larger than it is free total corresponding component quantity minus reserved and rendered quantities. If you don't need to reserve more components, we press the Calculate button. If we press the Format Document button without pressing the Calculate button, the program will display corresponding message again. We would get the same message if we added additional component. Amounts after the calculation and did not press the Calculate button. This check is for the application user to reserve the required quantities for the object only after making sure that the calculated data are correct. We can see that after the error message is displayed, the data entered in the fields is not deleted, and the user or the program now needs to re-enter all previously entered data after making a mistake in one place. When the filled-in data meets the requirements, by pressing the Form Add Document button is created, which includes the data of the lessor, client, client object, and components, as well as other information required in this document. The language of the document and the data and format contained in this file can be changed according to the requirements of the company which will use the program. After opening the items in warehouse page, we can see that reserved quantities have appeared in the reserved column in the rows of the corresponding components. And when we open the data page of the corresponding component, we can see which application user and for which client, and this client object made a reservation. We can see that free quantity of components that will be available for the next reservation is calculated by evaluating the reservation that was just made.